This is the type of true life story that when you hear it, especially towards the ending, you sometimes begin to wonder what really goes on in human minds, as you won't really know the reason or the real intentions as to why someone like this could do this to a normal loving family. However, we can only speculate from the evidence and testimonies presented from different parties. But before we get into this dark story, if you're a lover of unusually disturbing, dark and spooky content presented narratively, you might consider subscribing, turn on post notifications for frequent uploads, and proceed to take your like button for a vacation to the city of Sydney, Australia. And with that said, let's get into today's story. Martin van Breda was the managing director of an Australian branch of a German-owned company that provides services that deals with real estate transactions. He was also a director of more than 20 other companies within Australia and other countries. He owned houses in Australia worth over millions and at some point lived in major cities like Melbourne, Australia. He also owns a private school in Pretoria, South Africa, and founded a company that tracks and recovers stolen vehicle properties. By all accounts, he was a successful millionaire and living a life most people could only dream of. He had lived in Australia for 8 years with his family, and in 2014, he decided together with his wife, Henri van Breda, to move back home to their native South Africa with their 3 children. The eldest son was Rudy, the younger son Henry, while their last child and only daughter was Mali. In January 2014, the Van Breda family moved back to South Africa with the exception of Henry and Rudy, who stayed a bit longer as they were both still studying at the University of Melbourne, Australia. The reason they decided to move back was due to Martin's business interests in South Africa, and because Teresa, their mother, also wanted to be close to her family who were living in South Africa. Later in 2014, Henry and Rudy would join the rest of their family as the family would move into their new home in South Africa, which was in the beautiful and fancy gated housing estate known as the Zaz Golf Estate, with a world-renowned golf course, vineyards, and a restaurant located in Stellenbosch, Western Cape, which is the South African wine region. It is believed to be worth over 200 million South African rands as of 2014. This was a relatively wealthy family, you could say. However, the entire fate of this family would change when on the early morning of January 27, 2015, an unidentified black man putting on black clothes, a black balaclava mask, wearing a glove and carrying an axe broke into the Van Breda family house while they were in their family home sleeping through the night. At that time, Henry had gone into the toilet. This unknown intruder crept into the room where Rudy was sleeping and attacked him with the axe, leaving him unresponsive. Henry, who just came out from the bedroom that early morning and was about to retreat to bed for sleep, hearing some noises coming out from his room, which he shared with his brother, stood up and looked out from the door. Standing at the hallway, he saw a hefty-built black man with an axe that has been covered with blood, and immediately he froze in complete shock as the man came out from his room, which he shared with his brother Rudy, as this masked man was just about to make his way out. After a while, Henry snapped out from his shock, and this was because he realized immediately that the man on the mask had spotted him coming out from the bedroom doorway and has now started moving quickly and ferociously towards him. This man wanted to attack him too, but Henry managed to put up a fight and began to defend himself as he held tightly onto the axe which the man had attempted to swing at him. Henry started shouting for his father to come help. His father rushed immediately from his room to his son's room, but this man overpowered them and attacked Martin too. Teresa and Mali, who followed their father behind on hearing Henry's loud voice, were also attacked and fell to the floor with blood spilling all over the first floor of the house. This was done also by another unidentified masked man. They fell to the floor after each attack and appeared unresponsive at first. Henry, who stood in shock, couldn't do anything, but the man approached him again and the fight broke out. As they were in the middle of this fight, Henry was able to disarm the man, but before he could do any other thing, the masked man has suddenly pulled out a knife and drove the knife into Henry's stomach and chest region, leaving Henry at the mercy of his sustained wounds right on the floor. and then the man dashed out of the house with a laugh, with Henri in severe pains and injury which he sustained from the knife stab. By 4:42 a.m., Henri tried calling his girlfriend several times for help, but she did not respond. Then he passed out after a few minutes. Almost 3 hours later, which was after 7 a.m., Henri, who had collapsed from the attack, would regain consciousness. He was losing so much blood and had blood all over his socks and sleep shorts, and he would calmly call the South African local emergency services, which he got from searching the internet. He would tell them the details of the attack that happened that night, and this call lasted for quite a while. He told the emergency responder that both of his parents and brother had been attacked by an unidentified masked man, and that they appeared unresponsive from their sustained deep cuts, and his sister was still struggling for her life with serious head injuries. After a few minutes, the police and the emergency services would arrive at their family home that morning and go on the first floor of the Van Breda family's home, where Martin, Teresa and Rudy were lying in their own pool of blood. The paramedics would confirm that Martin, Teresa and Rudy were dead. They had succumbed to their injuries after bleeding to death. However, Mali, who suffered severe head trauma from the attack, was rushed quickly to the intensive care unit by the South African paramedics. She had been left with a severe jugular vein and a fractured skull. Henri, who suffered some minor lacerations, was treated at his affected torso region in an ambulance within their home. That morning, the police would patrol the area and seal the house of the Van Breda with a crime scene yellow tape barricade and would effectively begin their investigation. After a few months of undergoing and enduring extensive surgery and medical treatments, Mali would make a healthy recovery, although she would be diagnosed with retrograde amnesia as she had no memories of the attack that took place on that evening. Retrograde amnesia is the loss of memory access to past information and events that has been learned and is caused as a result of injury or at the onset of a new disease. Over a year and a half, the surviving families of the Van Breda family were still trying to recover from the horrific incident that took place that morning. Henri was living with a family friend, while Mali, who was just recovering from her extensive physiotherapy, was still living with her aunt and uncle. She also returned back to school and began living her normal life with no memories of the gruesome attack that took place that early morning. The police, who were still carrying out their careful investigation, would come to a decision after carefully monitoring the suspect from the evidence they had gathered, and after a few days, the suspect would be contacted and asked to hand himself over to the police. On the 13th of June 2016, the young man handed himself over to the police, and this suspect was no other person than the 22-year-old Christo Van Breda, Henri, the second son of the Van Breda family, who at the time of the attack was just 20 years old. He handed himself over at the instructions of his lawyer and was subsequently apprehended. On the 14th of June 2016, which was a day after Henri handed himself over to the police, Henri appeared in the Stellenbosch Magistrate Court to face 3 charges of murder and 1 of attempted murder and for defeating the ends of justice. His bail was also set at 100,000 rands. Henri was then released under the conditions that he reported to the local police station regularly and not leave the Stellenbosch area. A pre-trial hearing was held at the Western Cape High Court on September 2016, and the case was postponed until November as the state prosecutor, Susan Galloway, requested more time to obtain outstanding computer and DNA evidence. However, Henri and his girlfriend Danielle van Rensburg would be arrested on 6th of September 2016 by the Tableview police, but this was because they were caught with the possession of cannabis. However, they were granted a bail of 1,000 rands and 200 rands respectively. The case of drug possession was heard on the 12th of October 2016 at the Cape Town Magistrate Court, but was postponed due to outstanding documentation. The following is a reconstruction of the likely events that led to this gruesome story and the multiple evidence that made the South African police and investigators to come to that conclusion, with the subsequent arrest and trial of Henri van Breda. On the late evening of that attack, Henri had reportedly had a confrontation and argument with his father Martins and older brother Rudy just before they were about to proceed to have their night's sleep. Neighbors and close family friends had also described Henri as the black sheep of the family. This was because while Rudy and Mali did excel in school and were successful in their academics, Henri decided to drop out from his studies and take a gap year, and this he did with no real plan or direction for his life. He decided this after leaving Australia to South Africa on the 14th of August 2014, which was 7 months after both his parents and Mali left before him with his older brother Rudy to come to South Africa. His decision to drop out from school disappointed his loving parents, who were also kinda strict. His father Martin van Breda was a successful man who wanted the best for his family and knew how important it was to instill the value of success through hard work to his children. However, Henri was the complete opposite of what his family stood for. He had reportedly spent time in a drug rehabilitation center in Cape Town, and this was because Henri had a drug addiction problem, and because of that, his parents had cut off his allowance or threatened to stop his allowance if he doesn't quit his addiction to tick. Tick is also known as crystal meth in most countries, but referred to as tick in South Africa. The drug appears as a clear crystal chunk or shiny blue-white rocks and can be highly addictive because of the powerful rush or feeling of euphoria and confidence one gets from ingesting it. Although it sharpens the senses, it can also fuel aggression and sometimes with devastating social consequences, with addicts usually engaging in crime to fund this habit. Not just that, it can also damage the body, particularly the central nervous system, which can lead to severe psychological problems. This drug is common in the city of Cape Town, hence very cheap to obtain. It was also believed that the pressure of not meeting up with the expectations his parents wanted from him had driven him to the edge just a few months after he arrived in South Africa. And unlike his older brother Rudy, who was living a decent life and was the first son who happened to be on a better relationship with his parents, and as you can guess, he was also the rightful heir to his father's property, Henri might have murdered his family with the motive of being the next in line to inherit his father's multi-million estates and properties, and the reason he spared his younger sister's life was possibly because he didn't see her as a competition, although this was never proven. Following the evidence from the police that led to this arrest after almost 2 years of careful investigation, firstly, there was no sign of forced entry in the Van Breda home. According to the police, the axe and the knife found at the murder scene belonged to the family prior to the attacks. Secondly, the pair of sleep shorts and socks covered in blood which Henri wore that morning were not his blood. This was because he was only injured in his torso region, which the medical officers revealed that the wound was self-inflicted, and DNA testing was able to match the blood, and results did reveal it belonged to his parents Martin and Teresa, and that of his older brother Rudy. Another reason why no arrests were made immediately was to gather enough evidence that would support the motives behind why he killed his family, and to make sure that a fair trial was given, and with justice served if he was really guilty. Thirdly, it was believed by the police and some extended family members that Henri may have had his allowance cut off by Teresa and Martin following his crystal meth addiction. This could have possibly made him resentful towards his parents, especially his father Martin. Hence, the reason he had more deep and brutal cuts on his back, showing the depth of anger he has towards his father. Knowing that he can't escape what he had done in the heat of anger, he decided to kill the rest of his family that night. This was because it was also believed that Teresa and Mali were already asleep shortly before the attack on them. This meant that when they came out from their rooms, which was when they heard the loud confrontation that night, and which was after Henri had killed his father and brother, Henri had also attacked them and struck them with the axe repeatedly while leaving them to bleed to death. Hence, the reason he didn't quickly call the paramedics for help, but instead called his girlfriend by the early hours of that morning. It was also believed he didn't faint or lose consciousness after the brutal attack as he had claimed, but rather waited for almost 3 hours after he had attacked his family, before calling and speaking calmly with the emergency responder about the incident, and which from all indication he had carried out all by himself. The following audio is an extraction of the real conversation between Henri and an emergency service personnel that fateful morning the attacks and murders happened.
What is your emergency?
Yeah. I need an ambulance. Lots of
You need an ambulance?
Yes, please.
What's your name, sir?
Henri van Breda.
Henry. What's the contact number you're phoning from?
My home phone number, but I'm not sure what the home phone number is. My cell phone. We're at 12 Husker Street, please.
What is this number that you're phoning from? Is there someone else that can speak if you're not able to?
No.
Who else is in the house?
There's no one else. Everyone else
I need the contact number, please.
Yeah, okay. 021
021
8800
8800
493.
493. And you need the ambulance to go to what?
Number 12 Husker Street.
Hoskes.
Husker. G-O-S.
G-O-S.
K-E.
What area is this?
It's in Stellenbosch, and it's in the Zolta estate.
Number 12, Hoskes Street in Stellenbosch.
Yes.
I'm not picking it up for Stellenbosch. I'm picking it up for Boertesig Milnerton.
We're in the Zolta winelands. It's an estate. D-E, and another word, Z-A-L-Z-E.
D-E-Z-A-L-Z-E.
Yeah, D-E.
I'm not picking it up for Stellenbosch. What area in Stellenbosch are you in?
I don't know. That's all that. We're in Zolta Winelands. It's an estate. It's a security estate.
Are you sure it's 12 Hoskes Street?
Yes,
Hoskes
absolutely.
Is in Boertesig Milnerton, eh? And you're saying you're out in Stellenbosch?
Yes.
What? And you don't know what area in Stellenbosch?
I'm not sure how much more specific I need to be.
8800
Yeah.
Just check the number. On police system, that number picks up. I'm picking up Bach Street, number 4.
No.
In Stellenbosch.
Yeah, can you please just send an ambulance or more than one ambulance to the Zolta Winelands in Stellenbosch?
The Zolta?
Yeah, can you find that, please?
The Zolta. Sir, they're going to ask you the same thing that I'm asking you, because you're giving me two different addresses. The Zolta in Wineland in Stellenbosch.
The Zolta Winelands is the estate. Stellenbosch is the town. And Hosker Street, number 12.
Okay, Hosker Street, number 12. Is there a school or church near where you stay? A landmark?
There's just the estate clubhouse, I guess, for the golf course.
And what else?
There's also a golf course.
You mean the main road as you drive to
the main road, I think it's the R44.
What? R44?
I think so, yeah, between Somerset West and Stellenbosch.
On the R44, is there a garage, a school, a church near to where you stay?
There's just across from there's a mall,
What's it called?
More. No, not Aike-Stadtmoor. There's a BP across from me.
Stellenbosch. Going to the map, you say there's a BP.
Yeah.
Is that all you know, the BP garage? No other shop near in your area?
Yeah. Okay, try. There's also a golf club on my phone's maps. That's what it's called.
The Golf Club.
Yeah. It's the estate next to Techno Park.
Next to Techno Park.
It's by Jamestown as well.
By Jamestown.
Yeah.
What is Jamestown?
Jamestown's the next suburb next to us.
What? And you, the patient?
No, my family is. Someone attacked my family.
Hey?
Someone has attacked my family in my house.
Okay, so you need the police or the ambulance.
And an ambulance, please. Yes.
Now, who is injured?
I think everyone.
Everyone in your house?
Everyone, 4 people, yes.
Adults, 2 adults?
2 adults and 3 adults and 1 teenage girl, yes.
What are the injuries?
Head injuries.
Are they conscious?
I don't think so. My sister's moving, but that's it.
Suspects still on scene there, sir?
Sorry?
Are there any suspects on scene?
No, they ran away.
With what were they attacked?
An axe. I think I blacked out and I've just woken up.
With an axe. Okay, stay on the line. I'm going to speak to the police.
Thank you, but please send an ambulance as quickly as possible.
Yes. Are you the only one that's conscious? You know
yes.
The others are unconscious. Hold.
Yes.
I'm going to speak to police to check on your number, where you are. Because you don't know your street name, you say.
The street name is Hosker Street.
Okay, I'm not picking it up on the contact number that you're giving me.
Okay.
Henry?
Yeah.
I've got ambulance services on the line now.
Okay.
So, he gave me a few different addresses. The one he's going to go with, he says it's 10 Alleman Street in Stellenbosch.
Yeah, if you go to 10 Alleman Street, are you sending one there?
Okay, tell me, what is the street name?
My street name is Hosker, or Gosker.
Okay, die straatnaam daar wat die bij die geval is.
Ja, ja.
Wat is die pad se naam? Goske.
Goske Street.
G-O-S-K-E.
Ja. In Stellenbosch.
G-O-S?
K-E, ja.
K-E. Is it a street name?
Yeah.
I'm trying to check this. Hold on for me. Kan je die straat? No. I get it for both the
if you just, okay, number 10 Alleman is just past my street. If you send an ambulance to...
Is it Alleman or Alleman?
Alleman.
Okay, spel die vir my gou en wil ek die opkry?
A-double-L.
A-double-L.
E-M.
E-N.
A-double-N.
A-double-N.
So Alleman met 2 N's.
Okay, I'm not picking up that one. Let me just write it here on the thingy. This is number 10, Alleman.
Do you get any Alleman Street?
No.
Because if you send someone there, then I can meet them in the road.
Alleman Street. Not Alleman, it's Alleman.
Yeah.
Is it, which area in Stellenbosch is it?
It's in De Zaltse.
Pardon? Zaltse. Bosbou. Wat area in Stellenbosch is it? De Zaltse.
Yeah, De Zaltse Golf Estate.
D-E-Z-A-L-T-S-E. Z-E?
Yeah. Z-E. No.
Z-E?
So it's
Z-A?
So it's Z-A-L-Z-E.
Zaltse, okay.
Yeah.
Golf estate. Golf.
It's a golf estate.
Golf estate.
Estate type thing, yeah.
Okay. Okay, what kind of injuries is there?
My family and we were attacked by a guy with an axe.
With an axe?
Unconscious, it is.
Unconscious, huh?
Yes, and bleeding from the head, please.
Okay. The address, okay. Just want you to get the right thing here. Oh, and hold on. Okay, to see your reference number is 0312.
0312.
Yeah, you said the phone number is 072 835 2802.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it says number 10 Alaman Street, Zalze Golf Estate in Stellenbosch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. So we'll send it. You just keep your phone open in case they get lost.
Yeah. Can you please?
Okay.
Yeah, they'll
call on my mobile phone.
Okay.
On my mobile phone, I'll be out in the street and I'll need the ambulance there.
Okay then. Okay.
How long will the ambulance take?
It won't be too long. They'll send the ambulance out as soon as possible. Okay then.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Even with all this evidence pointing towards him, Henri continued to plead innocent. The police went ahead to track down a man claiming to be Henri's drug dealer. He was presented with Henri's photos and was able to identify Henri from the photos as a regular customer of his. Henri's trial for the murder of his family started on April 4, 2017, and he pleaded not guilty. During the trial, he told the court that a tall black man intruder wielding an axe, putting on dark clothes and gloves with a balaclava-type mask, had broken into their home while his family were sleeping upstairs in their home. He told the court that he saw the man from the doorway of his bedroom coming out from the room he shared with his brother, before the man suddenly started to attack him with the axe. Henri also said that he cried out for help, waking his father, who ran into their room with Teresa and Mali following behind, and that all were brutally attacked, but he couldn't do anything to save them as he was frozen with fear. Henri has said he then struggled with the intruder, who laughed as he continued to fight him off. He says at some point he was somehow able to disarm him, at which point the intruder produced a knife, stabbed him, and with the intruder still laughing as he fled their home. After Henri's version of what happened, the prosecutor Susan Galloway asked Henri to reenact the act that he had allegedly seen, which he demonstrated to everyone in court. Henri was able to give almost a choreographed version of the arms and the hands and the weapons. One further point which Henri emphasized in his defense was on the high crime rate in South Africa, leading to the intruder story being slightly plausible. Reportedly, and also arguably I must say, South Africa has the third highest crime rate in the world, only beaten by Venezuela and Papua New Guinea. However, the prosecution's argument was also that all of Henri's injuries had been self-inflicted. They also pointed out other loopholes in Henri's story, such as why would an intruder whose main motive should have been to rob a home ignore all valuable items downstairs at their home and instead go all the way upstairs in their room to start a killing spree. Another argument left by the prosecutor was that the family estate was one of the safest places in South Africa, as there were motion detectors, an alarm system, 24-hour guard patrol, access controlled gates, and even an electric fence. Another question left by the prosecutors to Henri was why there were no signs of forced entry at their home, or why he escaped without being seriously injured like the rest of his family. And this question, Henri was not able to explain during his hearing in court. It was also believed by one of the pathologists that the supposed injuries which were on Henri's body were self-inflicted, as they were very similar and uniform with the manner in which he cut himself, doing little in terms of injuries, and there were no visible signs of a really aggravated attack on his body. Expert analysis showed that all the victims had been attacked by the same single person. The prosecutor also argued that Henri waited hours to call for help because he wanted to ensure that his family bled to death, while Henri defended, saying that he had collapsed after seeing his family attacked and that he was unconscious for hours. Neighbors who lived close to the Van Breda family also came to testify in court and told the court about hearing a loud argument on the night of the attacks, while Henri's defense team would argue that the sound had been from a movie. Henri would also speak about having a normal relationship with normal arguments with his family to further counter what the neighbors had said about what they heard on the night of the attack. He also went on to say that if there was anyone who always had any sort of altercation with his parents, that it was mostly his sister, Mali. This trial would go on for 67 more days, and on 21st of May 2018, the court would find Henri guilty on 3 counts. 1 count was for murder, the 2nd count was for attempted murder, while the 3rd count was for defeating the ends of justice. Defeating the ends of justice was as a result of tampering with evidence at the crime scene and also lying to the police investigators about what happened on the night of the attack. Henri was immediately taken into custody until sentencing. However, he was also allowed treatment for epilepsy and depression following the murders. On June 5th, 2018, which was 2 weeks after he was found guilty, his sentencing proceedings would begin, and 2 days later, which was on 7th June 2018, Henri was sentenced to 3 lifetimes for the murder of both parents and brother, a further 15 years for the attempted murder of Mali, and another 12 months for the obstruction of justice. He was moved to the Drakenstein Correctional Center to serve his term. This prison is also famous for being the location where Nelson Mandela spent the last part of his imprisonment for campaigning against apartheid during the apartheid time in South Africa. On November 2018, which was 5 months after his sentencing, Henri would submit an appeal for his conviction and sentence. Up until this day, Henri's girlfriend Danielle, his aunt, and some of his other extended family members still believe that Henri wasn't capable of murdering his family and still don't believe that he did it. They believed he was honest and that what he said made sense, and that with his supposed lack of evidence against Henri, that they were confident that their appeal would be accepted. However, on November 7th, 2018, the appeal would be dismissed by the Supreme Court of Appeal. During his sentence, from the information presented to Judge Desire, the judge would say that the deep cuts from the axe attack on Martin was an indication that he had used his own body to try and shield Rudy from his axe-wielding brother during the loud confrontation between them that night, believing perhaps that his son would not strike him, but which he did. So that would do it, guys. I would like to hear from you all about this case. Do you believe Henri van Breda was innocent? If so, why? Do you also think he was guilty, and what are your reasons? If you really want to read more about this story, I have left various links on the description box below. Also, I would really love to hear your opinions at the comment section. If you're a lover of unusual, disturbing, dark and spooky content presented narratively, please do well to subscribe, turn on post notifications for daily to weekly uploads, and do not forget to take your like button on a fun trip to the city of Sydney, Australia. If you also have a story suggestion for me, please drop it at my email address below so I can continue to engage with you all. Until next time, see ya.